the synagogue instead, and so on and so forth. We became members, and were involved. And one day, the rabbi said, you know what? A lot of the ladies in the synagogue married to Jewish men are not Jewish. So next week, I'm going to convert them all. And I'd never thought. He said, would you like to convert? And I'd never thought about converting. I didn't have any particular needs, but we're members of the temple, so okay, fine, I'll convert. He said, can we use your swimming pool for the conversion? And I thought about my swimming pool, and I thought, you know, I go into my pool every day for a swim, and I come out. I'm certainly not a Jew. Why would I want to go into my pool and pretend that I'm going to come out a Jew? It just seemed wrong to me. So I said, you know, I feel really uncomfortable with that. And he said, okay. I didn't even know at this point you're supposed to go immerse in any way. So I'm ignorant about this whole thing. He said, well, immersion is part of it, and so you're going to have to immerse. So he said, tell you what feels good to you? You want to go to the ocean? And I thought, well, the ocean is a natural thing. That sounds good to me. He said, fine.
That was conservative or
Reform conservative.
Reform.
Yes. So he said, tell you what, let's make it on Thursday. And everybody agreed. For Thursday was a fine day, and we gathered. Everybody could bring their children. We made it a picnic day. So I brought potato salad and coleslaw, and some of the other ladies brought other things, and we brought blankets. We're going to sit down at the beach, have a nice afternoon. But as things would have it, the rabbi couldn't make it. So he sent his wife, the Rebbitzin. And since there were so many of us on this conversion,
how many?
Oh, maybe 8 women, something like that, and the children. And lo and behold, there had to be 2 carloads. The Rebbitzin ended up in the other car, and the 2 cars lost each other on the way to the Pacific Ocean. So I'm in the car without the Rebbitzin, and we finally find the right road where we're to meet, and we see the other car coming back. And we say, oh, finally we met up, let's do it. And they say, oh, we're already finished. And we said, you're finished? You're going home? Yes, going home. Well, what do we do? What do we say? And the Rebbitzin said, oh, you just dunk in the water and you don't have to say anything, that's it. So she must know, she's the Rebbitzin. Rebbitzins married to the rabbi, they know these things. And so we go down to the beach, we have our coleslaw, our potato salad, very nice, and the kids are playing in the sand, and so the other ladies say, well, I guess we should do this. They go in the ocean, but they were saying, oh, water's so cold, and they go up to their knees, oh, it's too cold, and they go back out and dry off, and that's it. So it was my turn. I was the last one, because I was feeling so ignorant as to what should be done. And this, after all, was some kind of ritual, I imagined. And I walked out into the ocean, and for the first time in my entire life, I talked to God. Just to me, to God. A God that I had never believed in until that moment. And I'm saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know why I'm here. But please accept whatever is in my heart as for what I'm supposed to do. And with that, I went as far in the water. I don't remember how far I went or if I completely immersed, but I did come back out, and I did feel something. And at the same time as being very surprised, like, what was I doing? I was talking to a God that I never believed in, but it was okay. This whole thing was hocus pocus anyway. I didn't understand it, and when we drove home, and that night I was given I was given a form signed by 3 quote-unquote witnesses saying that I was now a Jew. Fine. And they told me that my daughters were now Jews too. I had at the time, my oldest daughter was 12 and my youngest daughter, and my younger daughter was 6. So fine. That's Sarah. In the picture lighting the Sabbath candles, but she was 6 at the time. So, fine. And after that, I found that there were some classes being given on Sundays for children. And since I was always involved in enrichment for my children, I loved to give my children classes. So this was a class in Judaism for kids 6 to 12, and that included my daughters, and I sent them on Sundays, and they loved going because the classes were taught by this rabbi with a long beard and tzitzis and a long frock coat, and they were quite enchanted with all of this, and I didn't know who was what, or Orthodox, non-Orthodox, and this sect. I didn't know, but they were having a wonderful time when that's all I cared about. And they loved it, and they sang songs, and they heard stories. And after a couple of months, I went to pick them up one Sunday, and my 12-year-old came out. My 12-year-old, who is now the mother of 5 children and married to a Russian Jew whose family goes way back in Hasidic life. And my daughter says, "Mom, guess what?" And I thought she's going to tell me a new story that she heard, and she said, "We're not Jewish." And I said, "What do you mean we're not Jewish? I have a piece of paper that says we're Jewish. I wear a doily on my head. I wear a Star of David. Must be Jewish." She said, "No." She said, "There's a real way to go about it. There are rules, and we didn't do it." And I was so shocked to hear that. I mean, I did whatever they asked. Now it's not enough what I did. And at the same time that there was some anger involved because I couldn't figure out why they would demand so much from me. I gave whatever I was asked to give. But on the other hand, I was so relieved to find that there were some standards for becoming a Jew. After all the Jews that were lost and perished because they were Jews, I had become a Jew so easily, like it was nothing, like, you know, joining a school club. And here at last, I found that there were some standards for becoming a Jew, and I was so inwardly so relieved to find that there was some preciousness to it somewhere. And then I studied, and I read a lot, and I learned a lot, and finally, I now joined Chabad, and we were involved in Orthodoxy, and finally the rabbi said, "I think you ought to make a plan to really convert. We ought to make a date." And I said, "Oh no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready." He said, "I think you're ready." And I said, "Oh no, I can't imagine. You know, I really felt now that I know what a Jew should know or could know, I'll never be ready." And they'll say, no, you haven't mastered enough. But the rabbi assured me I really had to make a date. So we did. And lo and behold, they accepted me, and I took on the name of Yocheved. And my 3 children at the time, my 2 daughters and the son that Ruvain and I had together, took on their names, and they converted at the same time with me. So then I was truly a Jew.
What was the difference between this conversion and the other so-called conversion?
The rabbis, there were 3 real Shabbos-observant rabbis questioning my children. And they were asking so many questions of my children during the meeting that I said, "Why aren't you asking me more questions?" And they said, "Because we can tell better how serious you are about Judaism by what you've taught your children.
That's true.
It is true.